What's up, everybody? My name's Kamahl. Welcome back to part 2 of our patch note read-through. So, standard YouTube intro stuff. If you like the videos, you like what I'm doing here, you like this stuff, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, as it says, and let's jump into it. So this portion, what we're going to be reading through is character balance and skill reworks. So, character balance. Projectiles have been reworked to allow for more player-friendly behavior. Previously, if a projectile could not perform a step in its behavior sequence, it would skip that behavior and attempt the next, and never attempt to perform the skipped behavior again. It will skip that behavior, attempt the next, and if it reaches another enemy, attempt to perform the skipped behavior again. For example, a projectile that could both chain and return will now hit a target, and if there is no enemies for it to chain to, it will return. If it then hits another group of enemies, it will attempt to chain again, though it will not return again after chaining. Not really sure what skills do that, but I'm assuming it has something to do with like arrow or bow and arrow type builds. I don't typically use those. I've played Toxic Rain and I've played Chaos. What's it called? Toxic Rain and I forget what it's called. Doesn't matter. But I haven't done anything else that really would do well, no, I guess Venom Gyre or what's it called? Spectral Throw? I guess those ones. Maybe. I'm not sure. Whatever. It's been balanced. It's been updated. The sequence of behaviors a projectile will attempt in order is now splitting, piercing, forking, chaining, then returning. Many modifiers to the effects and duration of chill and shock, such as increased effective shock, now also affect brittle and sap. The descriptions of such modifiers have been updated to reflect this. Intensity now has a maximum of 3 stacks, down from 4. Remove the concept of reduced visibility to enemies and replaced it with stealth. Increasing your stealth reduces the radius at which enemies will notice you. 100% increased stealth cuts the radius in half, and 200 increased stealth cuts the radius by 2/3. You can therefore no longer become entirely invisible to enemies. That's fair. I wouldn't have really imagined a game like Path of Exile allowing you to become completely invisible, but it is what it is. Now we're going to read through all the skill reworks. There are quite a few, so this video may be a little bit longer than the last one. Might not, but I'm pretty sure it will be. First, we have curse skills. All curse skills have been reworked and are now divided into 2 categories, hexes and marks. Hexes apply a curse in an area. When manually cast, apply an amount of doom per second to cursed enemies up to a maximum. Doom increases the effect of the afflicted curse and stack additively with modifiers to increased curse effects. Marks apply to a single targeted enemy, and only one enemy can be marked by you at a given time. The current mark skills are Poachers Mark, Warlord's Mark, Assassin's Mark, and Sniper's Mark, previously named Projectile Weakness. Monster rarity no longer affects the efficacy of marks. Monsters deep in the Azurite Mine, delving, also no longer reduce the efficacy of marks on them. Additions to the number of curses you can inflict on enemies apply cumulatively. You know what? I can say it in my head. Can't say it out loud, apparently. My tongue doesn't like to work like that. To both hexes and marks, but do not modify the number of enemies you can have marked at any given time. Thus, you can have an enemy that is affected by both a mark and a curse, and a hex rather, but you cannot mark an enemy with 2 marks, nor can you mark 2 different enemies. Items and enemies which previously reflected curses will now only reflect hexes. Steel skills. Lancing Steel, Shattering Steel, and Splitting Steel can now consume steel shards to cause bonus effects. Steel shards are gained through the Call of Steel skill. which causes all nearby impaled enemies to release their impaled spikes and deal damage around them. That's cool. If there are no impaled enemies nearby, Coal of Steel will create steel shards over time. Every steel grants Coal of Steel as well. You can have up to 12 shards of steel or steel shards at a time. Assassin's Mark. Enemies afflicted with Assassin Mark will always grant a power charge and significant amount of life and mana when slain. That's awesome. No longer causes cursed enemies to take increased damage from critical strikes. That sucks. Cursed enemies now have a 100% chance to grant a power charge when slain. That's great. Hits against cursed enemies now have a 1.5% chance to crit, or 1.5% to critical chance at all gym levels. Hit against cursed enemies now have plus 30% chance, plus 30% to critical strike multiplier at gym levels 1, up to 49% at gym level 20. Cursed enemies now grant 65 life when killed at level 1, and up to 600 at gym level 20. Enemies cursed now grant 25 mana when killed at level 1 and 80 mana at level 20. Now causes cursed enemies to have a 1% chance to grant a power charge when hit per 4% gem quality from 1% chance, and to grant power charges when slain per 2 gem quality. Yeah, this is going to be a longer one because this is a lot to read through. Poachers Mark. Enemies afflicted with Poachers Mark will always grant a frenzy charge when slain and are more susceptible to physical damage. They always grant a small amount of life and mana when hit. No longer causes cursed enemies to grant increased flash charges. No longer causes enemies to have less evasion. Cursed enemies now have, I'm just going to read it through a little bit more summed up, 100% chance to grant a frenzy charge when slain, 15% life when hit by attacks at gym level 1, up to 50 at gym level 20, grant 8 mana when hit by attacks at level 1, up to 25 at level 20. Now adds 6 to 9 physical damage to hits against cursed enemies at gym level 1, and 30 to 45 at level 20. Cursed enemies now have a negative 20% to physical damage reduction at all gym levels. Now causes cursed enemies to have 1% chance to grant a frenzy charge when hit per 4% gem quality, from 1% chance to grant a frenzy charge per 2% quality. Sniper's Mark, previously named Projectile Weakness. Enemies affected or afflicted by Sniper's Mark grant charges to life and mana flasks when hit, and causes projectiles to hit them to split towards other enemies. No longer causes projectiles to pierce or knock back cursed enemies. Cursed enemies now take 16% increased damage from projectile hits at gym level 1, up to 35% at gym level 20. Cursed enemies now grant a life flash charge and a mana flash charge when you hit them, no more than once every half second at all gym levels. Note that this only applies to hits from the source of the mark and not, for example, your minions. Projectiles which hit cursed enemies now split towards 3 additional targets at gym level 1 and up to 4 targets at gym level 20. Cursed enemies now take 1% increased damage from the projectile hits per 4% gem quality, where before it was 1% for each 2% quality. Warlord's Mark. Enemies afflicted by Warlord's Mark will now grant an endurance charge when slain and grant rage when stunned. They also allow attacks to leech life and mana from them. No longer causes cursed enemies to have reduced stun and block recovery, or to have a chance to be stunned. No longer causes cursed enemies to have a chance to be stunned. So that's just a base stun on chance on hit. Hits against cursed enemies now have a 40% chance to double stun duration at gym level 1, up to a 59% at gym level 20. Cursed enemies now grant 5 rage over 1 second when they are stunned, and cursed enemies now grant 2% life and mana leech when hit by attacks. That's pretty decent. Now causes cursed enemies to have a 1% chance to grant endurance charge when hit, per 4% gem quality, same as before, same as the other marks, instead of 1% for each 2 gem quality. Now we're going to read through some steel skills. Steel skills, rather. This is messing up my throat. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's some massive fires going on in Oregon, so my throat has just been ravaged. Lancing Steel now fires a sequence of projectiles when you attack, and fires more projectiles based on the number of steel shards consumed by the attack. Enemies can be hit by multiple projectiles from the same attack, but subsequent hits after the first deal less damage. Now has a base attack speed multiplier of 80%. Now deals 63% of base damage at gem level 1 up to 85 at gem level 20. Now fires 3 additional projectiles, and now has a 20% chance to impale enemies on hit. Subsequent hits from the same attack deal 60% less damage. Now consumes up to 4 steel shards and fires 50% more projectiles per steel shard consumed. Shattering Steel. Shattering Steel now fires a number of projectiles simultaneously, which shatter after colliding with an enemy or after traveling a short distance. The shattered projectiles deal damage in a cone in front of their impact location. Shattering Steel will consume up to 2 steel shards to deal more damage at close range. Each time you consume steel shards, you gain a steel charge up to a maximum of 6, which grant 4% chance to block attack projectiles per steel charge. All right, now has a base attack multiplier of 85%. Now deals 100% of base damage at gem level 1 up to 127% at gem level 20. Now deals 8 to 12 added attack physical damage at gem level 1 up to 113 to 169 added attack physical damage at gem level 20. Now has 40% chance to impale enemies on hit. Shattering Steel now fires 2 additional projectiles. Projectiles now deal 100% more damage at close range based on the distance they travel per steel shard consumed. Now grants 1 steel charge when you consume steel shards, granting 4% chance to block attack projectiles per steel charge. These have a base duration of 5 seconds. Now consumes up to 2 steel shards. Now fires only 1 projectile if no steel shards are consumed. Now we are just going to be reading through the standard skills, not the steel ones. Firestorm. Firestorm now calls down a large meteor that impacts the targeted location, followed by a series of smaller attacks at set intervals over the storm's duration. The base power of the spell has been significantly raised, so you are limited to 3 firestorms at any given time. Any new storms created will replace the oldest. Now requires level 28 at gem level 1, up from 12. And please be aware that the existing low-level characters with Firestorm socketed may have that gear disabled until the Firestorm gem is removed. Now has a mana cost of 13 at gem level 1, up to 25 at level 20. Now has an added damage effectiveness of 50%. Now deals 22 to 33 fire damage at gem level 1 and 207 to 311 fire damage at gem level 20. Now has a base duration of 1.4 seconds with 1 impact every 0.2 seconds. The first impact has 100% more area of effect and deals 150% more damage. Glacial Cascade. I've always really liked Glacial Cascade, even though I've never really used it in a build. But that's fine. You don't need to use the skill to appreciate it. Glacial Cascade now rapidly creates a sequence of damaging areas, each of which knocks back the enemies it hits. Modifiers to the skill's area of effect no longer affect the overall range of the skill. Instead, larger areas overlap with each other more. This can allow you to hit an enemy several times with a single cast much more reliably. The final part of the cascade now deals significantly more damage to enemies. That's great. Now has a mana cost of 10 at gem level 1, up to 20 at gem level 20. Now has a cast time of 0.6 seconds. Now deals 21 to 32 physical damage at gem level 1, up to 207 and 311 physical damage at gem level 20. now converts 100% of physical damage to cold damage. That's great. The final spike now deals 200% more damage and now knocks enemies back on hit. Discharge. Updated. Discharge now has a cooldown and a much higher added damage effectiveness and base area of effect. To encourage large individual discard casts, casts that consume more charges over the rapid fire discharge discharge usage often triggered, there we go, by other sources. There is a threshold rule which drastically lowers the cooldown for players who seek a discharge playstyle similar to the older version of the spell. Now has a larger base area of effect. Now has an added damage effectiveness of 450%. Now deals 56 to 203 base lightning damage per power charge, removed at gem level 1, 394 to 1,422 base lightning damage at gem level 20. Now deals 99 to 148 base fire damage per endurance charge removed at gem level 1, 692 to 1,037 base fire damage at gem level 20. What you doing, Rufus? Now deals 81 to 121 base cold damage per frenzy charge removed at gem level 1, up to 566 to 849 base cold damage at gem level 20. Now has 20% increased area of effect per charge consumed. That's great. Now deals 30% less damage with ailments. Punishment. We're coming up towards the end. This one should hopefully be under 20 minutes. I mean, I got 3 minutes left to read through these last two skills. Hopefully we can get it. Punishment. Punishment no longer requires you to be hit by the cursed enemy to benefit from its effects, and instead grants large benefits for high damage killing blows against cursed enemies. No longer causes cursed enemies to grant more melee physical damage on a melee hit. No longer causes cursed enemies to grant increased attack speed on melee hit. No longer causes enemies to have negative 20% physical damage reduction. Now causes cursed enemies to take 50% increased damage while on low life at gem level 1, up to 88% increased damage at gem level 20. Now causes cursed enemies you hit to be debilitated for 2 seconds. Now causes 10% of overkill damage from killing blows against cursed enemies to be reflected to other enemies as physical damage. That's actually pretty awesome. Now gains 1% increased effect of curse per 2% gem quality. Previously it granted 1% increased attack speed on melee hit per 4% gem quality. It's taking the breath out of me. I also have lung problems, so the fire is definitely not helping with that. Hopefully in the next couple days my pharmacy has a new inhaler for me and we can solve these woes. Last one. Vitality. Vitality now grants flat life regeneration based on the level of the gem and reserves a flat amount of mana, similar to Clarity and Precision. It can now be used to more rapidly enable builds which rely on life regeneration to function, such as Righteous Fire, at lower levels, and no longer disproportionately rewards high life builds. No longer grants life regeneration based on your maximum life, now requires level 10, now reserves 28 mana at gem level 1, up to 233 mana at gem level 20, now causes you and nearby allies to regenerate 15 life per second at level 1, up to 247 life at gem level 20, and now requires 25% less strength at all gem levels. Alright guys, so there we go. Right at the 20-minute mark, well, 19 and a half or so for this section. And like I say, if you like the videos, like, share, comment, subscribe. We have a lot of interesting things coming out of this. I can't wait to see a lot of these in action. And, as always, I'm out.